All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to All Things WordPress. Nice to have you here. I'm Kate Arpin. I'm MNA's digital platform specialist, and I'll be hosting this town hall. Looking forward to chatting WordPress with you. If you want to chat in your name and your org, and if you have any specific questions in the chat, that would be super. Help us direct what we're going to do. In the meantime, my colleague Emily is on the call as well, and she'll be helping manage the chat room and just participating. And we'll give everyone a minute to get in here. Hi, McKenna. Nice to see you. Lisa, hello. Michelle. Michelle, do you go by Shelly? I like that. Nice. And if you feel comfortable, it's always nice to have other people on video, so I'm not just talking to myself. So hi, Gloria. Nice to see you. All right, looks like everyone's getting settled. Before we begin, does anyone have any specific questions that you want me to answer today? If so, please do put them in the chat, because I'm just going to do a short, this is WordPress for a minute, and then this really will be a question and answer tour. What do you want to know kind of session. McKenna, I see your question about audience web analytics integration. We can definitely cover that. I have kind of a favorite plugin for that, so we'll put that on the list. Okay, I am going to share my screen. Let's see. Can everyone see my screen? Is that Emily?
I'm just seeing a black screen that says MNA has started screen sharing.
How's that?
Oh.
Okay. Great. Okay, so this is All Things WordPress. We're just going to do a quick overview, WordPress.com versus .org, because that's a really big hang up for a lot of people. A little bit about the future of WordPress and how development is changing in WordPress, and then we'll do questions and answers. So we're going to start with WordPress.com versus WordPress.org. And the reason I always start with this is because people get confused, and it really changes the way that you can use WordPress. So WordPress.org WordPress overall is an open source software, and you can install it on your own hosting account. Most people do that. That's like your GoDaddy. I use SiteGround, whatever host, wherever you have your domain. It's an installation process. Most hosts make this really easy, and then it's your software to do with what you want, which gives you complete control. The only con of that is that you do need to know how to manage it and install it. Most hosts make this pretty easy, but sometimes that can be a hang up for super newbies. So then WordPress.com is a website hosting company that uses the WordPress CMS. So it's the way for WordPress. Oh, are we frozen? Everybody back?
Yeah, but on your screen, I'm just seeing sometimes just a large black pointer mouse. I don't know if you had a PowerPoint.
Sometimes. I'm going to switch my screen then. Let's see. Let me see which one is the right one to.
Better? Yeah, we're seeing your presenter mode, but
That's fine. It doesn't have modes, so whatever. For some reason, it's not giving me the option for the non-presenter mode. So here you go. So as I said, WordPress.com is a hosting company, a website hosting company that uses the WordPress CMS and kind of their own special installation and system of it. The nice thing about that is that it makes it really easy to set up and get started. The problem with it that I find is that it has really limited themes and really limited plugins. You have to pay to remove ads. You have to pay for all these extras. So it can really put a limit on what you can do with your website. So if you're at all serious about your website, I highly recommend doing a self-hosted WordPress.org solution. And that's what most people do. Anybody in the audience have WordPress.com or WordPress.org? Do you know? McKenna, you have WordPress.org, I assume, or are you on a .com site?
Org. Yeah, we have WordPress.org.
Great. Good. Most people will. Just sometimes I encounter people that have .org and they're like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? That's why. Lisa, you'll probably do by and large, you'll do .org. Christy, the way you know the difference is the way you log in. And that's hard to explain, but essentially if you go to WordPress.com and enter your username and password, that means you have a .com account. But if you go to your site /wp-admin to log in, that means you're on your own .org account. So let's see. And then the next thing I just wanted to talk about is the future of WordPress. So one of the things that I love about WordPress is that it's open source software. So it has been around for a long time. It has a dedicated team of volunteers. They actually encourage anybody who's a WordPress professional to donate 5% of their time to improving WordPress. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And that means that it's a whole community that makes it better, and development can be slow, but it also serves the community best. And because it's open source and everybody can see the code, it's also amazing for developers to create solutions that plug and play with it. So it completely integrates with all kinds of other platforms and softwares, which I think is really great. Future of WordPress, right now, WordPress is going through kind of this big transition. So in the past 6-7 years, like the past decade of WordPress has been where it was the system, but most of your site relied on the plugins and themes that you put on your site. And a lot of times those themes would have like third-party website builders. Anybody's familiar with WP Bakery, Elementor, Divi, there's all these big themes and third-party builders that make drag and drop site builders, and those are great. WordPress is kind of building their own version of that, where they're making post editing more of a drag drop block experience. And so for the future, themes will do less of their own of that, and they'll design blocks to plug and play that work across all themes. Because the problem with the third-party builders is that a lot of times what they do is they use shortcodes. So when you switch your theme, you've completely ruined all your pages. MNA itself is currently experiencing that, where we can't change our theme because our site is designed with a third-party builder. So if we change any of our plugins or themes that use that builder, then any pages that have that builder just become mumbo jumbo of shortcodes, right? So we can't change our look or feel very readily. So in the future, WordPress will make that a lot easier, which is one of the really cool things of WordPress. I will say a lot of people are against this movement in WordPress. So it's like up in the air. A lot of people are like, no, it won't go. Part of that is just because there's a lot of theme builders and developers that make their money building themes that don't play nicely with other things. So it's a change in the way the WordPress economy works. But I love Gutenberg web development, and I highly recommend, if you are installing a new theme, going with a theme that is Gutenberg ready, and you can search that when you're looking at themes. That's something it will definitely advertise to you. So that also means that there will be, I think, less reliance on third-party site builders. Yeah, McKenna, so Gutenberg is just the post editing system that WordPress is moving towards. So it just means that you use the native WordPress way to build posts instead of your theme's special way. And I can demonstrate that in a little bit later. I'll show you the back end of the MNA website and how different ways that we would build a post or a page. And then how it looks when we change it and why that is important. So, and then further in the future, WordPress is building out whole site editor and template builders where you can build templates for how posts and pages look. So that's actually a question in here. Yeah, I forget who asked it, but yeah, making posts more stylish. That is one of the things that the template builder will allow you to do, is kind of make the look of a post page more integrated with your site instead of just what your theme gave you. So you have more control over it. So I think that's really cool. It'll be really interesting to see how it comes out in the next couple of years, but I would also say just expect for your websites to change in the next years. And if you've had your site and your theme for more than 5 years, be prepared to get a new one. Like, you're starting to be old and lose the functionality of what's coming in WordPress. So I highly recommend adapting to the new environment if you can, or starting to plan to adapt. That's definitely where MNA is right now. Okay, so since we have the question out, I am gonna change my screen and show you the, we're just gonna go into the back end of the MNA website, and I'll show you what Gutenberg versus a third-party page builder looks like. So let's see. So you can see here, this is the classic WordPress page editor. If you are at all familiar with WordPress, you're familiar with this page and what it looks like. Yeah, so this is what it will look like. Now here in the MNA site, we have a theme called, I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, we have a page builder. And so you can see in here, we have all these widgets. We add things this way. I want a navigation menu. Right, so I would add, so I can go in the editor and do the classic mode of editing, or I can go in the page builder and develop my page by adding elements from my page builder system. That's all fine and dandy. Once I publish this page, the MNA site switches to, let's see, we're going to revert to the editor and we're going to go visual. So now you can see, because I put in that block through my editor, but now I switched back to the classic WordPress system. This is just a short code. So it doesn't turn, it still puts out the menu right now because I still have this theme installed and this is still my active theme. But if I changed my theme, this page would just look like this. It would just be this code instead of the navigation menu I want. So it completely breaks my posts and pages if I change my theme. So I can't change the overall MNA site without going through every single page. And I don't know if you guys saw when we're back here in our pages, but MNA has 123 pages on our website. So I'm basically stuck with our theme, right? I can't change it without going through every single page and redesigning it. So it's a huge issue for us, for me, right? Now I'm going to go back in that page and I'm going to edit this page. And now, instead of pulling up the classic editor or my site builder, this is the Gutenberg editor. And this is how it turns out with that page builder shortcode in it. It's not great. So I'm just going to remove this. And what I love about this editor is that it's just quick and easy to post. And I can type a lot of things. This is a paragraph, but I'm going to switch it. It actually wants to be a heading. And I can drag and drop things around in here. And there's all kinds of blocks that I can add. You can see over here, I have some patterns, some different text blocks. I have different media blocks, different design blocks. And so future forward themes, Gutenberg friendly themes will create nice patterns for you in this pattern library. The other thing that I can do is I have here in this, on the MNA website, I have saved specific reusable blocks. So if I want to drop any of this info, let's see, this is one that I use a lot whenever we have, it's misnamed, but this is a standard block that I put in all event pages, right? So I can create blocks and stuff that is reused. And whenever I edit this block, let's say we change our policy and it's actually 8 months after an event, and I update that. When I update this page, it'll update that block, and all of those blocks across the whole site get updated with that new information. So there's some really cool don't repeat yourself features of the Gutenberg page editor. I'm gonna remove that. So you can see it's checking with me. It's like, you updated that block. So I can say, no, I don't want to update that block, or I do. Now on the front end, yeah, we still have that shortcode menu from the other page editor because I still have that theme installed. And so it still knows what that shortcode means. But as soon as I change that theme, it's mumbo jumbo. Meanwhile, this is the block editor, and this will stay a headline and a paragraph no matter what theme I use, and it will grab the headline and paragraph styles from my new theme. So what it does is it just makes your whole site quicker to update, quicker to change, quicker to do universal changes and effects, which is huge if you're running a big site, or let's say you go through a rebranding project and all of a sudden all your headlines are blue, whatever. This is really easy to do and it makes everything super. So this is Gutenberg developer, or the Gutenberg editing system. Anybody have questions about Gutenberg, how it works? Anybody using it in your site or still using the classic editor? Jennifer, you don't have to switch to Divi or switch to Gutenberg. Like, you can stick with your theme if you like it. I also personally love Divi, and I have used it a lot on client sites when I was doing freelance design. So I do still love the Divi editor. If it's working for you, stick with it and go for it. The cool thing is that WordPress is not making Gutenberg, it's not mandatory to use this builder, but the WordPress system has this built in, so you don't have to use the third-party builders if you don't want to. Does that make sense?
Hey, just a question about Gutenberg. So you've said it's an editor, you've said it's a theme builder.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want clarity and recognizing that I'm not really in the web developer world, but I'm trying my best to like navigate the small changes that we have. Our organization has a web developer that we will call upon for major overhauls for the website. But as far as managing current events, text changes, and like rearrangement of the site, that's kind of left to staff. So
Yeah.
I didn't connect the dots on how you got to this Gutenberg theme builder. And you also said it's built in. So like if I'm on I'm on our WordPress dashboard, how would I find it?
It's just in your post editor. If you're not seeing it in your dashboard, then it hasn't been enabled. So there's a setting in WordPress. I'm sorry, I have to plug in my computer because it's about to die. There's a setting in WordPress, and I'm trying to think. There's a setting in your backend to enable the Gutenberg editor. It's not a theme builder, it's an editor, but it replaces a lot of the third-party page builders. Or it can if you want it to. Hang on while I plug in my computer. So let me actually see if I can find that setting. In this word, in standard. It's been a while since I said it, so forgive me for not knowing exactly where it is. Okay, so this is so you can see in here, this is my page builder has some settings in the settings section about how the page builder is used. The classic editor, you can see, is enabled for new posts. And that's why when I first made that page, it had the classic editor, but once I updated, it went to Gutenberg. It's kind of funky in my system. I'm actually going to disable this so that it just uses the Gutenberg setting. So now, let me see what else is in here. So now for new pages in MNA, it'll automatically be using Gutenberg instead of using the classic editor. Let's see. This is for the page builder. So this is, so you can see I have the page builder enabled for pages and posts. And this is specific to my theme, to the site origin page builder. So this is what you're seeing right now is different depending on what theme you're using. For example, Jennifer is using Divi. Divi, when you create a new page, you can build it in the Divi editor, or you can build it in the regular WordPress editor. And that's your choice to use. But once you make the choice, you stick with it. So, yeah. Okay, other questions about Gutenberg before we move on to other WordPress stuff? Okay, seeing none. McKenna, you asked about analytics. And a lot of time, yeah, Christy, I've used Elementor too. Reasonable page builder. I think all the page builders are reasonable. I think the thing that's cool for me about Gutenberg is that it's universal. So it's not everybody using a different one that you paid for. It's native to WordPress. So as it becomes more thoroughly used, as more people use it, there will be a lot more resources and a lot more ways to use it and a lot larger knowledge base for how to make it great. Yeah. So, okay. Analytics, McKenna. I typically use this exact metrics plugin, and let's see. Here at MNA, we pay for the Pro edition, but they have a free edition as well. It's a great plugin. Let's view the details. It has a ton of people use it and gets updated all the time. One of the things you want to look for when you're adding pins is to make sure that it's used by a lot of people, that's not going to be abandoned by whoever developed the plugin, right? You don't want to come to rely on something that then is one guy in Estonia that stops updating it, which is common. So I highly recommend this exact metrics plugin. And when you set it up, it will walk you through creating a Google Analytics profile. And then you connect the Google Analytics profile. It walks you through this whole system about how to do it. But basically you create your Google Analytics profile, you copy your profile number and put it in here. So if I want like all of the data, I can go to Google Analytics and download all of our website data, but it also gives me just a really nice dashboard for our usage right when I log into WordPress. So this is the one that I highly recommend. There's a lot of others that do a great job too. This is the one I standardly install on all sites. And I would say, I mean, when you first install, you won't get historical data. So you'll be like, I don't have any information on who's using my site, and I can't tell if it's getting more popular or less popular. So just give it time. Yeah. What my favorite is checking which pages are most popular. Like our job board is aside from our landing page, it's absolutely our job board, which is a really great argument for us to continue supporting that page, right? Do you have any other questions about analytics? Anything else you want to see in that? It's fairly straightforward once you set it up, and it will walk you through it. But also if you have any questions or need help doing it, happy to help. I've probably set it up a million times.
No, I don't have any other questions. And your recommendation for the plugin is helpful too. I've heard, I think there's one called something Monster, and there's just, I mean, there's so many out there. It's just a matter of which are the most useful and user-friendly.
Totally. I think that's one of the trickiest parts that I find, and especially for people that are new to WordPress, is like figuring out what theme to use, figuring out which plugin to use, because there's so many. Like the WordPress ecosystem is like billions and billions of dollars of people developing plugins and themes and selling plugins and themes. Yeah, Christy, this is Google Analytics. It's just a plugin to display the Google Analytics on a dashboard on your website. So it is Google Analytics, and I would say more user-friendly. I don't know if anybody's been hanging out in the Google Analytics reports lately, but they're kind of tough to filter through. Yeah, there's just so much in Google Analytics, and it's hard to even know what to look at. So this gives me kind of a quick overview. Yeah. Okay, other questions? Anybody? I see, let's see, Chelsea wanted to talk about making blogs and posts more stylish, and that's a great question. I love that, because sometimes they're just really hard to make stylish. Let's see, I'm going to go to MNA's homepage and pull up a blog and see what we're doing, because I wouldn't say that we are the leader in the style category. We basically have the headline and a lot of paragraphs. I would say some top design tips: use more images. I currently, in my web design, am moving away from using sidebars unless they're important to the content in the post. I'm also not a huge fan of the grayed background. I liked having just a big white space, a little more room. One of the things to really pay attention to is your font size compared to the width of your content. There is kind of a magic number where you don't want to have more than 75 characters on a line. People kind of stop reading. The line gets too long and people's eyes get tired. So that's one of my big complaints about our website right now. The content size versus the font size is just not quite right. There's a few too many characters on the line for me. But a little bit bigger, more headlines so that it's scannable. Be sure to use your H1, H2, H3, for headlines, if anybody's familiar with those. Those help, they help bots figure out what content is important on your page. So it'll help Google bring you up in search results. It also just helps people reading find what they're looking for. So we actually did not do a great job on this blog post. Like, I would have a few headings that say like about the conference, schedule, whatever, how to register, and pull out some of those like sections in this content really help. And breaking it up with more images. I am going to demonstrate. So let's see. Yeah, Chelsea, headline formats. And let me take you into a quick page over here where I can show you. This is MNA's annual conference page. I'm just going to view that and edit it. So when I'm using the Gutenberg editor, this is a heading, and I can switch it to H1, H2, H3. When I'm back here in the classic editor, you can see in here, I can, I'm just going to put about conference. So right up here, you can see I have, when I highlight this section, I have paragraph, but I can change this to a heading, and then your theme will define how they look. So like typically an H1 is the most important content, and then the importance decreases as the number gets bigger. So that also means that in most themes, H1 will be your largest font size, big and bold. The fonts will decrease in size as the headings get bigger, as it's a less important heading, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna, let's see, preview this in a new tab so you can see what that looks like. So now you can see here I have an H3, and this is how an H3 displays on our website. So it just pulls out a little bit, right? Kind of grabs the eye, brings the eye into the different sections. So yes, in the classic editor, yours doesn't offer options. Chelsea, what editor or what theme are you using? It should always, WordPress should always have these options. However, if your theme didn't define them, it's possible. Yeah. Or it's, I hate to say, not outdated, but a poorly designed theme that doesn't give you those options. So if you're the developer, if you're the person doing it, you can go into your theme editor and define some styles for different headings. If you're not, talk to your developer about that. And if you don't have a developer and you're just using a theme, that to me is a red flag that you should be using a different theme. Because I use headlines all over the place. They're a really nice way to pull out content, but also to have uniform formatting across your website. Because one of the key features of a theme is that it will define these headings. It will tell you, it will define for the whole website what color the heading is, how big the font is, what typography it uses. And that if you change it in your theme editor, it changes across the whole site. So it's a whole universal theming instead of like individually making different parts bold or big or blue or whatever they want to be. So I just want to take a look at, this is our annual conference site. And this is an example. This theme is specifically Gutenberg developed, and I found it like perfectly magical to use in developing. So this is what I ideally want, what I want our sites to look like in the future. They're clean, bold colors. I can change the whole page as I need, pull in elements as I need, but there's like consistency in the branding and in the font, in the branding. Does that make sense? And this is a good way to make a post like super designy and beautiful, right? In Gutenberg, there's I've set up columns, so I have different content sections, and I can do these sweet elements next to text, right, to kind of shorten the text and break it up. And then I can make it big again, all kinds of layout options in here. It's frankly crazy what you can do. All right, does anyone have any other questions? Is anybody dealing with any specific issues with your WordPress websites? Or any goals you're trying to accomplish and you're trying to figure out how to do it? Not seeing any. One of the other cool things that I'm looking into doing for our MNA website is we have this resource library. And right now it's just a page with a lot of links on it, but it's not really searchable. It's not filterable, and it's hard for us to update it because we don't have like dates on any of these. So we'd have to just look through and click on each one and see what's outdated. So a really cool way that you can expand WordPress is by building custom, this is like WordPress development, but you can see in this dashboard, I have posts and pages, but I also have events. So you can build out custom post types. And what I'm going to be doing for the MNA website is building out a custom post type for resources that then has custom fields. So each resource will have just like a form, different sections where I can put different information in, and then I can use a template to pull out those different pieces of information and customize how they get displayed and customize filtering and search for those resources so that every link that I have on that big page will become a post type, right? So it will be, it's complicated, but it will be really cool, and it will really extend the functionality of my website and allow us to filter, date, and add all kinds, and add tags and categories to all those resources so they're searchable and findable by users. It's a really cool way to expand what you're doing with WordPress. A good example of that is, as you can see on this back end, the events post type, right? That's a good example of custom post types doing really cool things. Yeah, Lisa, so you have a site using Squarespace. That's awesome. Yeah, there are lots of ways to migrate, depending, a lot of times that depends on your host and where you're migrating to. If you're, the way you've written this sounds like you're looking into WordPress.com and that they have a system to migrate. You can do that, but you can also, for example, I use SiteGround for hosting, and they have a plugin or a migration service that will allow you to move a Squarespace or another site onto their hosting, and they'll build it out for you in WordPress, like kind of copy your site over. I don't know if I can say like best practice or not best practice. The best practice is what works for you. but it can be complex. Yeah. It's certainly complex moving a site. So plan for time, plan for outages. But I'm excited for you too, because moving Squarespace, I think, is really great, but it's also pretty limited in its capabilities. So it sounds like you're moving into a bigger, more complex site, or looking to have your site do more, which is cool. Okay, we have plenty of time for more questions if everybody wants to stay on, and if not, you can have 15 minutes of your time back. I also wanted to say that part of my job at MNA is helping our members. So if you have specific questions, or we can definitely talk about SEO, McKenna. If you have specific questions, or your site like crashes and you don't know what to do, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer questions. I have done a ton of WordPress development, so there's always a lot of times there's things I can do to help you, or just help you troubleshoot what's going on. Yeah, Lisa, I think that's a great reason to change. Backing up your site and ease of making changes. That is why people use WordPress. Yeah, Christy, life cycle for a nonprofit site. I mean, whatever works for you. MNA rebranded ours in 2018. I think we probably should have done it again last year, but we haven't gotten there. I'm hoping in the next year we'll have the opportunity to update it. But I also have this philosophy that you should not be looking at a huge site change every so many years. Instead, you should be treating it like a garden, where you're always making changes, you're always updating, you're always improving what you're doing. So to me, that's one of the reasons the Gutenberg or like other adaptable, expandable systems are great, because I want to be able to make small changes continually over the life cycle of the site, instead of relying on a huge change that takes all this organizational input, right? The whole process is silly. Like, it should just be updated continually, just like you would clean your office once a week, right? You should just be cleaning your WordPress site. You should be cultivating it, decorating it, making it work for you on a regular basis. Jennifer, I see if I duplicate a page as a new page, the original page will also show the changes. I don't know why that's happening. All right, I assume you're using a plugin to do the duplication, and that to me sounds like it's not properly duplicating. It's creating the same record in your database. Instead of duplicating a page, I would just make a new one, open the other page in your browser, copy all the content and paste it into the new page. And voila, then it'll be a new record in your database and won't cause those problems. I would also make sure that you're changing the name of the page. Because remember, this is all based on a database. And so there's somewhere, right? There's a database that has a record for this page has this content and does this, and it was posted on this. If it's changing the other page, then it sounds like it's not creating a new record. So yeah, I would just, instead of duplicating, just make a new page, copy your content from the old page, just from the browser, and paste it in the editor that way. Yeah, McKenna, I see maybe you left us, but SEO is like a whole discipline in and of itself, and it's ever changing and ever evolving. I think the real key to SEO is just knowing what you want, how you want your page to come up, knowing your keywords and repeating those words. And honestly, the best way to improve your SEO is just to make your page useful for people and have the content that they need, right? Make sure when you're putting in images that you're using alt text that is useful, captions and descriptions as well that are useful. Those are kind of hidden ways to do SEO. You want to make sure they're useful because they actually are important for accessibility. So anybody putting images in, make sure you're using the alt text. There's a lot of resources for how to do alt text properly. But that's definitely an SEO recommendation. The headings, again, those are important for SEO because if you put your keywords in those headings, Google will be like, oh, these people have a whole paragraph about this keyword, right? So it really spotlights it for bots and spiders, which is what you're looking for, right? And if you want to go deep into SEO, there's certainly a lot of plugins that you can install that can help you kind of figure out where your page is ranking. A lot of people use Yoast. I find them to be rather obnoxious because they never hit all of their targets to get a green light on a page. So it's like a win-lose situation, right? Like if I can't get green, then I don't want to do it. Any free plugins. Yeah. Let me see. Yoast honestly is kind of the big behemoth in SEO. Start there. I don't have any SEO plugins that I use consistently and recommend. But I would say when you're looking at plugins, I always check the number of active users, the last time it was updated. I always read through the reviews, and a lot of times I'll even like go into the support forums and see if people are having like issues. And if the issues are getting answered, then I'm like, okay, that's awesome. That's what I'm looking for in a developer. If the issues are not getting answered, I'm less enthused. Right. Basically, what I want to see is commitment to on the developer side to improving the plugin and making it useful for their users. So I look for those features in the plugin directory that give me those hints that they're doing that. I also have, I mean, if I read the summary and it has grammatical errors or spelling errors, I almost always disqualify a plugin just because the attention to detail is important when you're coding. And so I want to make sure that they're paying attention to details. And that's just a basic, like, how do I pick a plugin out of the ball pit of plugins?
This goes outside the scope of SEO, but thank you for giving us the overview of that. And like you said, you could have a whole nother professional field of site optimization if that's the route you want to take.
And
but
many people do.
Yeah, but balancing that with the scale of most of the nonprofits in Montana, that was another thread I was trying to pull out of this was like, okay, how, of course, site optimization is ideal so that when people are looking for the services you provide, you pop up on their Google search. Like that's really important, and web traffic is key. But aside from that, I had a question about accessibility. I've seen some overlay, like third-party companies that provide overlays for like color changes if there's anyone that has color blindness or might have issues seeing your website. I'm wondering if MNA has explored that. There's also some PDF and web translators, and then voice dictation overlays, like super cool stuff, just a matter of time, money, and energy, and also just buying another product for your organization. So I'm wondering if MNA has experience with this.
Yeah, we're definitely, working to make our site as accessible as possible. It's again, like SEO, like you can go so deep into it, but yeah, starting with color contrast is a great, like, just starting point. Using headings, making your links clear, making sure your links are underlined, making sure you're using alt text for images. And yeah, there's a lot of overlays, like you said. I don't necessarily have one that I am super into yet, but open recommendations. Yeah, recite me. Let's see what this. Okay, this looks big. I don't think you need to go this far.
Yeah, but it has if you say try our toolbar, you can see the examples of what they were offering, like the
Yeah.
color wheel, the playback.
Yep, yeah.
Like interesting,
Wow.
or changing the
Amazing.
text size. Yeah.
Yeah. That's super. Okay, so but it's just a toolbar that goes on your site. So we have on our site, let me see the front page so we have this little one where you can toggle the contrast and the font size, just a little accessibility plugin. I'm not sure if I love it, but it's not geared toward me, so it doesn't seem to be causing any problems. And hopefully it's useful for some people. There's also, like, there's some great just accessibility checkers that you can use. If you just want a quick, like, scan or evaluation, you can type in a page or a URL here, and that'll give you kind of a good overview, a quick, like, here are some things you can fix. Yeah, there's always things to fix. And this is just accessibilitychecker.org. It's free. Yeah, as you can see, it checks for all kinds of compliance. Yeah. And I honestly, when I'm not sure, a lot of times I just type in accessibility checker and something will come up. There's also a really cool, let's see if I can find it. Let me see if it's this one. Yeah, there's some nice contrast checkers, which we used when we were redoing our branding, because we found we actually, like, our designer had this dark blue and a light blue, and then I kept putting the light blue text over the dark blue box, and it was not high enough contrast. So we actually had to add another brighter blue and a darker, like, we kind of adjusted our branding colors so that we could still have that look, but with enough contrast to be readable for people. I think this is the one that I liked. Yes, this one was great. So this is really super. So you put in your two colors, it'll tell you if it's accessible at small text, large text, and this is just for colored text over a colored background, but it's a great start for accessibility and for especially doing your branding stuff. Yeah, and again, this is Cooler's contrast checker. Yeah. Yeah, there's so much available. It's overwhelming and hard to figure out what's useful. Yeah. Maybe one of the biggest challenges of WordPress. It's just that it's so big. Okay, and with that, I mean, I think we are to the end, unless anybody has any further questions. Anything else you want? Thank you for sticking with me. Thanks for having you all here. And please feel free to email me if you have other questions or other things or if you need a plugin recommendation or theme recommendation, or just why do I have this big blank space? I might help you troubleshoot it. Bye, have a good one.